Hi, everyone, and welcome to Huddle in Place of the Nine-Sided Circle, episode 51. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Noor Kyle in Los Angeles currently.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Mushtaq Ali, in the Bay Area currently, or in spirit in the Mojave Desert.
Among the Choya.
Among the Choya. I like Choya.
You made friends with them. You
I
don't have
make
to
friends
worry
with
about,
them, yeah.
Yeah. Getting stabbed or whatever it is those things
They
to do to protect themselves.
They will stab you. They will stick on you. The famous jumping Choya will jump out and grab you.
Really?
Not really, but it's almost like it, because if you just barely brush up against them, they hook into you and you tear off a piece and you're walking with a chunk of Choya on your pants leg. And then, I mean, it's all prickly and stuff, so you don't want to grab it and pull it off.
Yeah, so it's
You have problems.
You have a new friend to walk around with.
Yes.
All right, so what's going on lately?
Well, let me see. The Midwest is being flooded right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's May, right? This is May.
This is May 19th. Yeah.
Yeah, May 19th.
May 19th, 2020.
Yeah, so Michigan and environs shouldn't be flooding. And yet they are.
Yeah.
And badly. I mean, there's evacuations. A dam broke. And the water is all pouring out of this lake going down where it used to go. And now it's going to wipe out entire villages.
Not a good time.
Not a good time.
No. And,
fortunately, I don't live in Michigan.
Yeah. Well, that helps now. Yep. And in New England just a few weeks ago, they were having snow.
Yes.
In, what was it, the end of April or the beginning of May?
Something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is...
Yeah. April showers did not bring May flowers. They brought May snowballs.
Right. It's an interesting time. So we wanted to talk today about letting go. We visited this topic before, but this is a revisit in light of us having gone through, as we've been saying, a couple months plus now, almost 3.
Yeah.
2. March through April, April through May. Yeah, okay, so we're going on a couple months at least in...
Well, we started getting paranoid about it in February.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, late February is when everybody was starting to get nervous and people were going, oh, it's going to sneak into the country. And,
Yep.
and it started sneaking into the country.
That did in fact happen, yep.
And then March gave us the shutdowns.
Yes, so here we are. We're still on, there's still a lot of places that are shut down right now. Not everything has something
where both of us are.
Right, yep. And that may be the case here until mid-July. They were saying 3 months, but I think people are freaking out a bit too much about that, so they're reining it back a little bit. But we're still talking mid-July right now.
Yep. And the truth of the matter is that we're going to have to learn to go out and deal with the toxic and septic environment that we have created with this virus, and do our best not to get contaminated.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah. And that means that certain people are going to need to grow the fuck up and realize that if they want to not have another major outbreak, people are going to have to wear masks and things like that.
Right.
Get over yourselves, people.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, we're developing this understanding that for lots of varied reasons, a strict lockdown cannot last forever. I think that's something we have to come to terms with. And that is definitely a thing that's at the forefront right now, is coming to terms with that. But when we talk about letting go, what are we really digging into, Mushtaq? What are we really
What
getting at?
we're really digging into is realizing that life has changed,
Mhm.
and we will have a lot of trouble dealing with the changes unless we learn to let go of those things that no longer are.
Right. So, what are some of those things? What comes to mind for you?
Um, it is not going to be easy to go to the movies.
Mm,
I mean, for me, I love going to the movies. I love the big screen.
yeah.
And I have to let go of that. So I don't expect to go to the movies until after there is a effective vaccination against this thing.
So that's where you're at right now.
Yeah, I'm
It's
not going to put myself at that risk. And, you know, I have plenty of movies from Netflix and Hulu and HBO and all of these things that I pay money for to look at on my screens.
yeah. Yep, and that's why their stocks are going up. So
Yep.
you're not the only one feeling that way.
So, got to let go of that. Got to let go of a lot of the ways that I have been very comfortable doing things, like
mhm,
going out to eat all the time.
yeah.
Can't do that as much. Have
Yep.
to curtail some of my travel plans.
hmm
Um, there's a number of different lifestyle changes that need to be made, and if you hold on to the way things were, it's going to be hard for you to make them, and it's going to be miserable for you to make them, and you're going to resist it, and then you're going to get sick and die.
Yeah. Well, I think for me personally, some of the things I have had to come to terms with, public transportation. I depend on that as a person who is visually impaired, and um,
Yeah.
driving has, yeah. So you and I share that in common. That this whole thing around public transit being kind of a hot spot, that's challenging. I haven't really been able to go anywhere outside of my neighborhood because I'm not so interested in taking rideshare services. I'm really not interested in taking the train or a bus or whatever. And that's been tough,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, we both picked where we live in part because of the really good public transportation.
Yeah.
Then all
Yep.
of a sudden that goes away.
Yeah, and this is going to be an ongoing challenge. They're definitely experiencing challenges around that in Europe, where people don't rely on cars as much as they do here. And there's this pulling away from using mass transit, which makes me sad on like a environmental level. I do think that this infrastructure is important in that regard, but when it comes to health and sanitation and all that stuff, it certainly adds a lot of complexity to this situation.
Yeah. And what that means is that more people are going to take their cars to work when they can go back to work.
Yeah.
And we're going to have gridlocked freeways again.
Yep. So there's so many ways in which things are not going to be exactly the same as they were 5 months ago. And I say 5 months because that's when China started having
Yep.
their lives impacted by this, which in turn has affected us in myriad ways having to do with international travel, family visiting,
And business.
economics.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
have a friend whose business relies on certain components from China that he cannot get.
Mhm.
So he's been like just stuck, hanging there,
Yeah.
you know, hoping to get these things sometime soon before the business fails.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not easy. So, yeah, there's a lot of different stuff that we are coming to terms with, as I said, and letting go. What does that mean? Let's talk about that. Let's really hone in on that. What does that mean?
Okay. So you understand what holding on to something means. Like I hold on to the idea of I want to be able to take the bus everywhere,
Yeah.
right? And so when I go, oh, but I can't take the bus everywhere right now,
hmm
but I want to, but I can't,
Yeah.
but I want to, but I can't. And that resistance is what you have to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
You have to allow things to be as they actually are,
Yep.
rather than as you would have liked them to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to embrace the change rather than resist it. The changes are going to happen no matter what you do.
Yeah. Yep. That is exactly what you're saying in terms of your friend waiting on parts for his business to keep running. Like, he only has so much control over
Yeah.
how that plays out.
And if we
And
don't learn to let go, it will make us crazy.
yeah.
And excuses like "my freedoms" are bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, it's time to stop being Randian assholes. What's good for you is not right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Just because it's good for you, it doesn't make it right. We have to work together on this, and we have to do what's right for all of us.
Yeah, and that gets us into bigger picture ideas. Like, we were just discussing before we got on our talk today how there's been a 17% decrease in CO2 emissions. And that is relevant to this because pandemics such as the one that we're experiencing now are a symptom of the greater concerns we have on the horizon around, ecological collapse and climate change and things like that.
Yeah.
So how can we take notes from this
Yeah.
experience?
And there is a theory that Mother Nature comes up with pandemics when some area of the ecosystem is really, really out of balance,
Mhm.
and it brings it back into balance. It's like bubonic plague.
Yeah.
You know, out in the Southwest, you have lots and lots and lots of prairie dogs. And when you get too many prairie dogs, the prairie dogs get bubonic plague and a whole bunch of them die off.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a way that nature balances itself.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a piece to this puzzle in that one of the things we may ultimately need to let go of, again, in a big picture sense, is our rejection of healthy limitations, our want to control every scenario that we're involved in. That's something we're going to be challenged on right now, on every level, from the most, minor who gets to do what in a home where everybody's home all the time, to the most grand in terms of how we exploit resources within the planet and on the planet.
Yeah. So we have to let go of a whole lot.
Yep.
Or we make ourselves crazy. That's the choice.
Well, not only it's not just making ourselves crazy, although psychological stuff is certainly relevant and can ultimately lead to more life and death concerns. But I mean, we are talking about survival.
Yeah,
Letting
and crazy
go.
people don't survive
Yeah.
this.
Right. And catching a disease because you were not interested in taking precautions for your own good and for the good of others. I mean, all of
Yeah.
these things are going to end you up in a place where you are not happy. You are not thriving.
Yeah, and personally, I don't mind if somebody wants to get the virus.
Yeah.
That's fine. I do mind if they infect me.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, as far as I'm concerned, a person's freedom to not wear a mask ends 6 feet away from me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. So, yeah. So how can we practice letting go?
Okay, first, we find what we're resisting internally.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that we're going, no, 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 no? And then we have to take a really objective look at that and go, why am I resisting this? Am I a child who just sits here and goes, I don't wanna?
Yeah.
Or can I look at this and go, okay, I would have liked this to stay the way it was, and it hasn't. So I will deal with it by doing this and let go of what was for what you can do.
Yep. Yep. And we've talked previously in the past, and we can probably link back to those videos in which we discussed self-grounding exercises, and
Yep.
those can come in handy when it comes to practicing letting go in a really solid, embodied sort of way.
Yep.
Because when you're grappling with these difficult emotions coming up around your resistance, that's going to be a thing. And we experienced that ourselves, so we know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we could tell you, hey, do this exercise and it'll all be good.
Yeah.
But we don't know what that exercise is.
Mm-hmm.
If we find it, we will tell you.
Yep. Yep. But we will just do our best.
Yeah. So
do our work.
Breathe. Look at what you're feeling as objectively as possible. Tell yourself the truth about it. Discover whether or not you can just let what is be, because that's the secret to letting go. You let what is just be as it is.
Yep.
And that's what I got today.
Yep. So I think we will end it on that note.
Yes, a high note.
Yeah. So as always, thank you for joining us. Like I said, this is our 51st episode and we're plugging right along. But yeah, I mean, if you've had anything that you have had to grapple with in terms of letting go, life changes that you had to come to terms with, and you feel comfortable sharing, feel free to follow up and leave us a comment, leave us a video, whatever works.
Join our forum and talk with us about this as a group.
Mm-hmm. All those links for getting in touch with us are down below in the description.
Yep.
So.
All right. Hasta la vista.
Take care. Stay healthy. Bye everyone.